Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Webinars Now event, and this one on gaining clarity, 2020 clarity, advances in on-demand behavioral research. So really excited about this topic today, and I'm here today with my colleague, Greg Stuckey. I'm Dave Lundahl. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Insights Now. Been working in behavioral research for many years now. And Greg, do you any
You bet.
introduction on yourself?
All right. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I'm Greg Stuckey. I'm the Chief Research Officer here at Insights Now and have the privilege of getting to work on a lot of innovations in industry and helping companies bring new behaviorally focused products to market. And really, that's what Insights Now's focus is. We like to say if you change the way you look at humans, you can uncover brand new insights and it will improve your speed to and success in market. If you're more behavioral in your approaches, you're going to be more successful. Simple as that. All right, for today, if you want to join in, there's a chat window. There's also a question window on the side. As we're going through, enter questions, enter thoughts, anything we can do. We will answer as many of those as possible at the end of the webinar.
Good. Well, on demand is really the new currency. I mean, if you look at what Amazon and Prime now, 2-hour delivery of groceries now, and electronics and so on, and it's incredible. So our sort of expectations in terms of getting things on demand is kind of what's going on. It's really an important area. So the question is, what is on demand? What's the promise of on demand when it comes to research? And so this is the topic today, and I'm really excited about it because I think it's got some really cool opportunities to go through. So it really is about faster insights, more cost-effective insights, and clarity of insights. From in terms of speed part, in this on-demand world, speed comes from automating, doing things, letting technology, do a lot of the mundane things that are repetitious, that things that can be, automated. Artificial intelligence is becoming part of that. Things that can be templated, things that fill out a form that's very standard, can drive things to do things much faster and be automated. Things that can be repeated. You're doing the same thing over and over again. Why should you have to enter the same information over and again? And also when you do things repetitiously, you get faster, you gain more efficiencies in the delivery of insights. And behavioral frameworks is another one. If you have ways of really looking at the world and boiling things down to have a behavioral impact, having frameworks allows you from a consultative base to be quickly to get to your insights from designing research better and then analyzing and pulling out insights. So that's really important area. So when you go to the cost-effective side of things, of course everybody wants to save money, and so that is coming from on-demand worlds or we're sharing or reusing information. That's one way to save money. You get more information from the participants in your research. You get, again, it saves you time and money. And by doing things, again, faster, more effectively, repetitiously, you get more efficient of it. That reduces the costs. And also, employing behavioral frameworks, being able to quickly understand how to generate relevant insights for decision makers from the design of research, and then marrying that so you'd be able to pull out and extract information that's relevant to your decision making. All of that saves not only time, but also it makes things more cost effective. Now, clarity is through insights is, I think, the third really important thing that we're seeing from on demand. Now, what I mean by clarity, it means it has to be relevant for decision making, such as targeting or the conceptual design, of products. A lot of decisions can go into those things, and insights, clarity through insights. Their product design and development decisions. Another, you need to have insights that are relevant for decision makers. Also, third is the commercialization and marketing decisions. Again, relevant insights for those sorts of decisions are really important, when you think about clarity. Clarity also comes from basing your measures on things that tell you about behavioral impact. And what I really mean about that is, if you think about it, this is something that we've shown in past webinars called the habit flywheel. And as the faster this thing goes around, this flywheel goes around, the circle goes around, the more routine, the more habitual consumers are. So if you're going to be trying to break through against competitors that are currently being used habitually, you need to be able to basically disrupt the flywheel, stop it, so that you can, change the routines that people are making. You can create new opportunities for people to try a new product. You can build into the product ways to signal rewards that people are seeking, or new rewards, or better rewards. And so this flywheel is an important way in which you can look at impact. And when you already are, say, number one in the marketplace, you need to continue to nudge people so they continue to, you want to speed up the flywheel there. And so these are ways to create measures and metrics to gauge behavioral impact. And so the third area is, in terms of clarity, comes from value-added insights through integrating. So when you can marry perceptual information with behavioral information, you get value-added insights. And these sort of value-added insights, these things that are gauges of behavioral impact, are what we call behavioral KPIs. These are metrics that come from research that are key for decision making. They are measures of the performance of stimuli, such as ingredients, or maybe the ingredient statement itself, or maybe a menu item, or a claim, or the brand, or it could be a prototype, it could be a prototype, it could be an in-market product. But so to gauge the performance of these components of products, or products as a whole, and do it in a way that creates some sort of measures that are indicators of behavioral impact, indicators of how this is going to change people. So the promise of on-demand research really is about faster, more cost-effective, and gaining more clarity through insights. And that's going to be really what we're going to look at. So today, before I hand it off to Greg's going to talk through a case study, and I want to really set the landscape here. So if you look at research today, what we have is there's custom research. We find the things that are do-it-yourself custom research, a lot of these storefronts that have been popping up where people can go in and design it, hit submit, and order the research online and have it executed. There's also, for many years, a lot of syndicated services where you can go in and slice and dice, historical data. If you look at this landscape, traditional custom research tends to be, costly. It's slow, but you also get the benefit of consultative sort of help in the design and the interpretation of research. DIY is faster, lower cost, but it's not as consultative because you're doing it yourself. And syndicated, and you can look at the world of syndicated, is really there's shared databases of information. There tend to be historical information like point of sale data and things like that, things that are more market oriented. Whereas custom, whether it's a DIY or traditional custom, tends to be much more proprietary. It tends to be focused on individual consumer reactions rather than market statistics. And this is where you get a lot more behavioral research come into play. Now, on-demand research covers the gambit from DIY custom to syndicated, to ways to reduce the cost and speed up research. And what we've been doing at Insights Now to, in terms of get more clarity, is develop tools that cover both DIY custom now, as well as tools that are much more syndicated. And we've developed a knowledge center, which Greg's going to go through here in a little bit. We've developed a center of apps where you can pull in behavioral KPIs, and you can actually do DIY custom by ordering research through our behavioral testing center. But we're able to do one more thing, and that is to create value-added insights. So through the behavioral testing center, and we'll show Greg's going to go through a case study here in a little bit. Through the behavioral testing center, you can order up research like a home use test and marry that with pre-populated information that is behavioral, and combining the perceptual with the behavioral to create new value-added insights to get greater clarity and do it at lower costs and greater speed than ever before. So I'm going to show you a quick video of this Insights Now Behavioral App Store, which we have launched. And then Greg is going to show you a case study of how we've applied this. And it's not playing. All right. Let's see if I can. Okay, let's try this.
We are proud to offer a groundbreaking online storefront with applications providing instant, on-demand access to behavioral insights to help product developers and marketers know how to disrupt or at least nudge consumers. The App Store is a suite of behavioral product development and marketing tools for research and development, product development, and marketing teams. In the Behavior Knowledge Center, browse the wide range of downloadable behavioral reports for insights into the whys of consumer shopping behavior and product usage. In the Behavior KPI Center, quickly look up behavioral scores for ingredients, claims, benefits, and brands to make quick product development and positioning decisions. In the Behavior Testing Center, order custom behavioral research studies such as home use tests, online focus groups, bulletin board studies, and video dives. So why on-demand behavioral research? To stay competitive and ahead of market trends, product and marketing teams need an ecosystem of on-demand tools for faster, cost-effective insights, saving you valuable time and expensive reports. In the Insights Now App Store platform, you can quickly and easily get access to insights whenever and wherever you need. Compared to traditional custom research, on-demand behavioral research yields value-added insights by combining your proprietary, custom results with our preloaded repository of behavioral KPIs, such as consumer reactions to ingredients, claims, and brands. And on-demand leads to more agility, speed to market, and success in market.
Okay, so sorry we had some echoing there, but I'd like to turn it over to Greg to take us through a case study.
There you go. What we want to do is look at the store. If there's any past information in this store, we want to make sure that we can go in and pull out that information. So if we look at the plant-based category, in this, there's 193 ingredients in the preloaded database. There's lots of information about brands and all of the awareness of brands, past trial, etc., and several relevant behavioral reports. For Beyond Burger, what we really want to know is how well is this new product introduction being received, and how does that compare versus all the competitive products in the market? And are we positioned for growth? And what can we do then to specifically shore up any problems we might have, any misperceptions about the brand or the product that consumers have, that ensure that we can get that habit flywheel going, that we can get people to use the product more and more and more frequently and increase those behaviors. So the first thing we do is take a look at what information is out there and available about this category to make sure that we're well versed in the information. And on-demand platforms and on-demand research allows you to go in and do this. So for instance, in our Behavior Knowledge Center, you can go and grab a report on plant-based burgers. And in that report, you would be able to review types of information that would be about the Beyond Burger specifically, as well as all the competitors. Here you see that Beyond Burger is got a problem with low awareness. So knowing that your big challenge is driving awareness in order to get trial, the question then begs, if I can get that awareness, how can I impact or change my habits from people, right? Can I get them to use our product, the Beyond Burger product, more often? Okay. The next is then looking into the KPIs, all those data points that already exist in there. And these behavioral KPIs are indicators of people's behavior, right? Dave talked about how this is the performance indicator. So for Beyond Burger, if you're looking at a scorecard, we can see that in the very center there of the report, you can see that brand awareness is quite low. The dotted line is the 75th percentile for the category. And you can see that the green line, which is Beyond Burger, is well below the 75th percentile in the category. So there's a brand awareness challenge. And if you can increase brand awareness, you will drive more trial. Brand trust is very high already. Clean ingredients, now you're a little bit low on clean ingredients. You're still below the 75th percentile. And if we look off to the right, we see that methyl cellulose has the smallest clean label ingredient score, potassium chloride the next smallest label or clean label score. So the question is then, is there anything that we can do to then learn more about those particular ingredients, right? Is there anything that we can bring R&D in to change those out? Okay. So for Beyond Burger, we know that it suffers from low awareness, but if we can increase marketing to drive trial, are there opportunities to change ingredients? Will the increased trial give us more behavioral share? That's a real question, because just because you can increase trial from people doesn't mean you're going to get the repeat use. And you got to make sure that your product is shored up to be able to do that. Likewise, is there any messaging, anything that people talk about with regard to the product that will help Beyond Burger stand out and disrupt people's behaviors? And then how will we be able to maintain the growth once we actually get new behaviors towards Beyond Burger to nudge that new behavior? So the key here is you want to continually protect against your competitors as well, because we know this category is moving, it's shaking, people are changing all the time. We want to stay on the front edge. All right, so let's look at the first one. Are there opportunities to change ingredients that can increase clean label perception? So going into an on-demand store, you can grab behavioral KPIs. In this case, we can look at the clean label ingredient scores for different types of binders. Methyl cellulose, we know, has a very low score. The value of it, though, is it works really well in heated products. But if you can pull together a research development team and start focusing on innovation, you can ask yourself, are there any other types of ingredients that we can use within this product, anything that we can continue to stay on top of that will be more perceived as more clean label by consumers, such that we improve that perception and therefore improve choice. Because we know that the lower the score here, the lower likelihood that the brand gets chosen. So, for instance, we know, like I was looking at a report yesterday from looking at alternatives to methyl cellulose, and one of them is citrus fiber. Very interesting possibility, right? It's not there yet, but there may be alternatives. So staying on top of those trends, and as those new ingredients come along, they get added into databases like this, and you can see where they land and if they'll be valuable in impacting behavior or not. Okay, so now these scores. So one of the questions we often get is, well, what is a clean label score and why is that a KPI? The clean label score is an implicit reaction to a specific ingredient and seeing a specific ingredient on a label. So it's not an actual like food scientist, is this an ingredient that is clean, less processed, anything like that. Has nothing to do with the science side. This has to do with consumer perception, has to do with their behavior. So as people look at those ingredients in an ingredient statement, what is that immediate implicit reaction that they have to seeing that ingredient on the label? And does it cause an avoidance for them, or does it pull it in and attract them? And if there's a very positive response, it pulls them in. Wheat fiber pulls people in. Potato starch pulls people in. Things that have scores below 50, as you see on the bottom half, they're pushing people away. So you're getting a little less trial because you have at least one ingredient on that label that people go, and it causes them a little pause. All right. So next up then is understanding, well, okay, now we've got some information. Now, how do we understand how our product is performing in the market? And this is where home use testing is, we believe, taking a turn in industry, and where on-demand is starting to make a significant difference. So within our behavior testing center, lots of different types of testing is possible. Home use testing, one of those possibilities for you. The interesting thing about home use testing in an on-demand network is it's using shared communities, right? So you're essentially bringing your costs down of research by being able to share participants. It's changing the way you think about recruiting, but it's changing from, I'm going to hyper target people to get just the subset of the population I want to focus on, to actually saying, well, who's actually in my real target market? Who am I competing against? What are my category buyers? And focusing on that metric, or that group of people, which is got a lot more value in terms of understanding how your share in market's going to change. All right. So if we look at then doing a home use test, if you go to the store, on-demand systems, fairly straightforward. You're going to be able to identify which types of category people do I want. And in our store, we call these category advisors. These are people selected that we know use certain categories. You're going to add products to your study. You're going to upload a questionnaire. You're going to say, hey, I want to understand how my lift is going to change. So it's just check boxes instead of a really, as Dave said, it's templated rather than a really rigorous process. Set your logistics, set your timeline, saying, hey, I want consumers to pick this product up from the store. I want to ship this product or have it hand delivered to them and here's my timeline at the end of the day. So keeping things nice, tight, very fast in terms of interaction and knowledge transfer using past research templates that you have or that you've built in order to speed up the process. All right. So once an on-demand session gets scheduled, then the question is, what will increased trial gain us in terms of behavior share? And we've created a new metric that we call category lift. So if we look at the meatless category, so plant-based burger category, prior to people having been able to try Beyond Burger, just knowing the name, just seeing the product, and the few people who are actually using it today, it has an 8.8 share within this particular space. Okay, it's not very high up on the list. It's in the top echelon of products, right? But it's not very high. There's definitely room for growth. Okay. Now, once we get people into using this product, when we look at now, we've put the product in home, they've tasted the product, they've used the product as they normally would, the category choice of Beyond Burger, once you get it in people's mouths, changes from 8.8 to 12.8. So that lift from 8.8 to 12.8 is a new metric that we want to focus in on specifically. So we can look at what's the lift of any product you try, i.e. trying the products that you're currently buying, right? So that's the effective lift of doing the method itself. And that's 8%. So if you're just trying a product that you are already using, you're going to see that you're going to see an 8% lift in people's choice for that product. When we look at Beyond Burger, it's getting a 46% lift. So that's a substantially larger lift. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we have a product that is delivering very well on people's expectations, that we're not disappointing people. We probably don't have very many red flags in our product that need to be shored up. So if we can gain awareness, if we can gain trial, if we can nudge our marketing teams to get that trial happening, then we're going to see a really good return on our investment. Now, the next question is then that's great, but what messaging is going to help us stand apart? And in this particular home use test that we ran, we asked a whole series of benefits statements in an implicit measure. So we wanted to know, does this taste like meat? Does this look like meat? Is this a trendy or a popular product? How appetizing is it? Is it different from other burgers? And understanding that reaction to those benefit statements for people, the products people are using today versus Beyond Burger, we see that tastes like meat and looks like real meat are the top two differentiators for Beyond Burger. And if you go to their website, you can see that that's exactly actually how they are going to be positioning this product, right? Looks, cooks, and satisfies like beef. So you're spot on. There's no major changes to be made in this particular area. So the next area we want to look at then is diagnostics of the product. So how can we position ourselves to maintain this potential growth that we're going to be able to have by driving awareness and trial? So how do we protect? So if we look at diagnostic measures, we're going to see things like classic measures, hedonics, overall liking of the appearance, et cetera, so forth. We see that Beyond Burger has a significant edge over other products in terms of a cooked appearance liking and texture liking. So that means that as we do ramp up, as we add more production, our quality control needs to heavily focus on appearance and texture characteristics. So we've got to make sure that the quality control and sensory teams in corporations have this as one of the things that they can make sure they focus on to maintain that quality. So you don't degrade something that's setting you apart. Now we can further drill down and look at just about right characteristics. So we can look at all types of specific characteristics like the exterior color, the juiciness, the firmness. We can break it down, different types of flavor, grill flavor, smoke flavor. And we ask these on what's called a just about right scale. So it can be a person's perception of trying Beyond Burger, and they can say, the grill flavor's too weak, or the grill flavor's too strong, or it's just about right. If we look at the characteristics here, Beyond Burger has a little bit of a gap in terms of color being not dark enough, a little too light, smoke flavor being too low, spice flavor being too low, beef flavor being too low. And we know that tastes like real meat is a key benefit of this product already. So that's one we certainly want to watch. Juiciness a little bit low as well. But just having people saying that it's low doesn't mean that changing it is going to impact your product or your scores for your product, your KPIs. So we want to run something called a penalty analysis, which gives you additional focus. And what we want to do is understand, well, for the people who are saying that it's not have enough, like the grill flavor's too low or the beef flavor's too weak, how are those people scoring the product differently than the people who said that the flavor was just about right? And we see here that beef flavor is indeed our largest penalty. And 0.59 says that those people are on average scoring it so low that if you were able to correct that 28% of the people that were saying it was too low, then you could increase your liking score by over half a point, which is fairly substantial. And so those top three are the ones that you can make a significant change to the product by changing. So the question is, how do I innovate then on beef flavor? So then now knowing this, the challenge back to the team is to maintain our position in market, we've got to continue to focus on beef flavor and figure out ways to continue to innovate and continue to get better, because competitors are going to be coming along and improving as well. So definitely an area to focus on. Right. So overall, this approach of an on-demand research, even as simple here as taking a product that's existing on the market, looking at what do we know, what kind of metrics are already available that will tell us where our product stands and what types of opportunities already exist without doing any research, just looking at the on-demand data, and then following that up with a in-home test to get a true assessment of how that product is interacting in a real environment compared to the products people are using today. Because really that's the challenge. At the end of the day, you need to move your product or you need to move behavior from what people are using today to your product. That's the real challenge. So you want that comparative assessment. So on demand, if we can get better clarity, it's through on-demand research. It's faster, less expensive, more cost-effective delivery, but you get those value-added insights. You can integrate more pieces of information together. So it's not just knowing that the product has a higher liking score for appearance and texture, which is nice to know, but it's understanding the whole picture. There's an awareness problem that one of the challenges in trial is going to be the ingredients, and is there any way to make those improved or continue to innovate around those? Knowing that positioning-wise, that if you do this well, you can certainly generate significant lift. So how we compare this particular product to the lift that or to the current distribution of the category as a whole. So comparative statistics like that allow for that integration that gets you to that next level of clarity.
Great. Thanks, Greg. So kind of as we move into a summary here, and before we take some question and answer here, just in summary, what we have developed here is basically an ecosystem of collaborative tools that work together. And these collaborative tools are designed so that you can get faster, you can have more cost-effective insights, and that these insights allow for then collaboration. Since this is an application that you can have teams using, you can quickly, wherever you are, whenever you want, can get insights and get information and utilize that. We're finding that the collaborative element for this is really important for teams that are starting to use the Insights Now Behavioral App Store. And in addition, as Greg was showing, this idea of integrating things that are perceptual with the information that we have preloaded on categories, and that's more behavioral, the behavioral KPIs. You get more value-added insights from that. You're able to measure things such as lift. You're able to explore questions such as, okay, methyl cellulose, what can I use to replace it? What would be better than methyl cellulose, as an ingredient, and so on and so forth. So it's a way to create agility, especially with the collaborative aspects of teams, utilizing this ecosystem of collaborative tools. And in the end, you're going to get speed to market and more success in market because you're basing your insights on things that are relevant and behavioral. So with that said, we're really excited about taking some questions. I know there's a number of you that do have some here. So, Greg, do you want to take the first one here?
Yeah, sure. The first question that we've got here is on the choice after trial. So on that lift metric that we were talking about, and the question is, how is choice after trial determined? Because one of the concerns would be it would be biased to ask that question after trying a product. So I try Beyond Burger, of course I'm going to score Beyond Burger much higher in terms of choice because I just tried it. That's exactly the psychology we're actually leveraging in this approach. So choice is, in this particular case, this is a MaxDiff assessment. So within the Knowledge Center, for the category, there is a MaxDiff assessment done on all the products in the category. So understanding where all the products fall from independent, right? So of trying any product. And then within this particular study, we are looking at having people try their current product, right? So that current product, let's say I'm an Impossible Burger person, and that's the product I have as a participant. I'm going to try that product, and then I'm going to do that same MaxDiff exercise, but I now know that that person just tried Impossible. I'm going to do that same exercise after Beyond, right? So now I'm going to do that same MaxDiff assessment after trying Beyond Burger. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take a look at how does the shift, right? It went from an 8.8 to a 12.8. How big is that shift? But I'm going to essentially filter that back based on the lift that all the other products get. So what I'm trying to do is look at a comparative. On average, the current product got an 8% lift, whereas Beyond Burger got a 46% lift. So it's that differential. Had Beyond only gotten an 8% lift, it would have gotten no more or no worse lift than the average product in the category. So hopefully that helps explain what that is. So 46 is good, but if you want to weight that back, you would subtract 8% off that, and you would then say, oh, it gets a 38% lift in overall.
Great.
Okay.
Next one is what are the implicit measures used to capture the KPI? Are you considering MaxDiff as an implicit measure? So no, the answer to this is MaxDiff choice is a choice metric. It is a measurement of behavioral. So it is a behavioral KPI that when you can build scores from the choice exercises that people have. But the implicit measures that we use and we gave here in Greg's example are based on rapid sort of, we set up context for, let's say, an ingredient in the context of a certain application. And then rapid will say, okay, for like plant-based burgers, what do you think about methyl cellulose? What do you think about pea protein? And it's just a measurement, just a response, okay or avoid. Very simple. And what we do is we time how fast people respond to that, and based on some pre-work that we do in the moment in the session for the participant, we set up a cutoff time for what is a system 1 fast response or a system 2 slow response. And we weight that into this 100-point scale. 0 means everybody would avoid. 100 means everybody would accept that sort of ingredient in the context of what we're asking. So, and we weight it towards fast response. System 1 responses get a higher weight towards 0 if it's avoid, or towards 100 if it's okay. Greg, do you want to take the next one?
Okay, I think, well, let's see. Some of the next few questions are follow-ons to the first one, Max. Yes, just to verify, yes, it is MaxDiff that is being used for that choice exercise. We find overall, not just with category choice, but we find that MaxDiff is a very solid and very repeatable approach to looking at choice. And we also see from a behavior standpoint that choice-based metrics tend in general to be more predictive of people's behavior, which is also why, to follow on what Dave was saying, implicit, explicit measures, we like those for doing a lot of behavioral predictions as well, because it is, again, a choice-based process that people are going through. They're very quickly answering yes and no, yes, no, okay, avoid, et cetera, so forth. So they're making a very quick, instantaneous choice based on how you set them up. So yeah, that is true. MaxDiff's a good choice-based metric, and I would encourage people, look at what types of ratings you're using within your system. We coach a lot on behavior-based metrics, and there are some fantastic measures out there that are scale-based that give you fantastic information. But if you only focus on scales, like, hey, I'm just going to use liking as my go-to or purchase intent as my go-to, then you're going to have a hard time predicting actual behavior change, especially when it's happening so rapidly in market.
Yep. And there's a question: did we pay for all that? I mean, did we? In the preloaded. So what we're doing is we're looking at key categories, especially disrupted categories. So for instance, an example of another one that we're looking into is like keto snacks. Okay. Massive category, very interesting. We can do the same sort of thing as we did with the plant-based burger category. We can look at other plant-based categories like plant-based, alternatives for cheese or dips and sauces and so on, which are growing fast. They're very disrupted today. And so it's these areas where there's been a lot of disruption that there is the most interest, most opportunity for companies to understand. So what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll create, do the category research, just like we did with plant-based, look at all the KPIs for ingredients, look at all the claims that are in the category, we'll look at all the brands in the category, and we'll look at, create some baselines of category choice, load that into our behavioral knowledge system, and that is available when you do home use testing, or available for when you're doing other sort of studies. And so they can marry the perceptual stuff, like a standard liking or a just about right scale type of information, and marry that with the behavioral information. Okay.
All right. Good.
Are there any other questions? I've not seen any others.
Don't see any others.
Yep. All right. Good. Well,
next
so
webinar.
I guess next webinar. Greg, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So next webinar coming up is going to be Thursday, February 13th, same time as this one. And we are going to be looking at clean label enthusiasts, people who are excited about clean labels, and their behaviors are driven by how clean a label is. And we're going to be looking at what their resolutions are for 2020. So that's going to be an exciting webinar. I think that it's always good and interesting to look at how people believe they're going to change their behaviors over the course of the next year. And this will be broad-based, looking at clean living in general.
Yeah, and also we'll be looking at, we did the same thing now last 2 years. We did in 2019. We asked the same, what happened? Are these, what were the sort of patterns and the trends that we saw from this research, and how did that translate into what was going on in the marketplace? So excited, looking forward to that one. With that, thank you everyone for joining us today, and this has been recorded, so we'll have an opportunity to post this. And so if you know others that may be interested in this, they can just register like you did, and or anybody does, and you register and you can watch the recorded version as well, rather than the live one. All right, everyone, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.